Before you rush into your day, let me ask you something. What if the greatest gift God has already given you today isn't the answer you've been praying for, but the simple fact that you woke up this morning? Think about that. Because by the end of this prayer, you may see this day very differently. This morning, before checking notifications, before thinking about work, before worrying about responsibilities, before replaying yesterday's problems, let's pause. Just for a moment. Because most people wake up immediately thinking about what they need, what they lack, what they hope will change. But what if we started somewhere different? What if we began with gratitude? Not because life is perfect. Not because every prayer has been answered. Not because every problem has disappeared. But because God's faithfulness has already carried us through another night. And here's the incredible part. Many blessings become invisible when they become familiar. The air in our lungs. The strength in our bodies. The people we love. The opportunities still ahead of us. We often notice them only when they're gone. But today, we're going to do something different. Today, we're going to recognize God's goodness before the day even begins. And what happens next could completely change the atmosphere of your entire day. Imagine for a moment that today is your first sunrise. Your first breath. Your first opportunity. How differently would you view this morning? You'd probably notice things you normally ignore. The sunlight through the window. The sound of birds outside. The ability to stand, walk, think, and dream. Yet many of us rush past these miracles every single day. We become so focused on what's missing that we overlook what's already been given. And this is where gratitude becomes powerful. Because gratitude doesn't deny difficulties. It simply refuses to let difficulties become the only thing we see. Think about your life for a moment. Has God brought you through challenges before? Has He carried you through seasons you thought would defeat you? Has He opened doors you never expected? Protected you in ways you didn't even realize at the time? Of course He has. And here's the twist. The same God who carried you yesterday is still carrying you today. Nothing about His faithfulness has changed. Nothing about His love has weakened. Nothing about His power has diminished. That's why this morning isn't just another day. It's another opportunity to experience His goodness. But there's something even deeper many people miss. And this next truth can transform the way you approach every challenge ahead. Have you ever noticed how quickly people can become hard on themselves? One mistake. One failure. One wrong decision. And suddenly they begin carrying guilt everywhere they go. Maybe you've experienced that yourself. Maybe there's something from yesterday still weighing on your heart. A regret. A disappointment. A conversation you wish had gone differently. A decision you wish you could take back. But here's the beautiful truth. Before you even woke up this morning, God's mercy was already waiting. Before your feet touched the floor, His grace had already gone before you. Before you faced today's challenges, His love was already making room for a fresh start. Think about how incredible that is. God doesn't say, "Fix yourself first, then come to me." He says, "Come to me, and I'll help you grow." That's the difference. His mercy is not earned. It's given. His grace is not purchased. It's received. And this changes everything. Because it means yesterday doesn't have to control today. You don't have to drag old failures into a brand new morning. You don't have to carry burdens God never asked you to carry. You can start fresh. Right here. Right now. But wait. There's another reason this truth is so important. Because mercy isn't only about your past. It's also about your future. Here's a question. Do you know everything that's going to happen today? Of course not. None of us do. Maybe today will bring opportunities. Maybe challenges. Maybe surprises. Maybe unexpected conversations. Maybe answers you've been waiting for. Or maybe lessons you weren't expecting. We simply don't know. And that's exactly why God's grace matters so much. Because grace is not only for what you've already faced. It's also for what lies ahead. Imagine driving through a thick fog. You can't see the entire road. You can't see every turn. You can't see miles into the future. But you can see enough to keep moving forward. That's often how God leads us. Not by revealing everything at once, but by providing exactly what we need for the next step. And this is where many people get stuck. They want answers for next month, strength for next year, solutions for problems that haven't even happened yet. But God usually works differently. He gives daily grace, daily strength, daily wisdom, daily peace. Enough for today. And here's what happened when I finally understood that. My anxiety started losing its grip. Because I realized I wasn't responsible for carrying tomorrow. God never asked me to. He simply asked me to trust Him today. And that's a lesson many people spend years trying to learn. But what if trust isn't the end goal? What if trust leads to something even greater? That's exactly what we'll talk about next. Let me ask you something honestly. When was the last time you stopped and remembered how far God has brought you? Not just the big victories. Not just the obvious miracles. But the quiet ways He carried you. The moments nobody else saw. The nights when you thought you wouldn't make it through. The seasons when your heart felt exhausted. The times when you had no answers. And yet somehow, here you are. Still standing. Still breathing. Still moving forward. That's not an accident. That's evidence of God's faithfulness. Think back for a moment. Remember that challenge you thought would break you? You survived it. Remember that season when you couldn't see a way forward? God made a way. Remember those prayers that seemed impossible? Some of them have already been answered. And here's where many people miss something important. They become so focused on the next blessing that they forget the blessings they've already received. They become so focused on the next prayer request that they stop celebrating answered prayers. But gratitude grows when memory grows. The more we remember God's faithfulness, the easier it becomes to trust Him with our future. And this is where everything begins to shift. Because trust is not built by knowing what tomorrow holds. Trust is built by remembering who carried you yesterday. But there's another lesson hidden inside gratitude. And it's one of the most powerful lessons you'll ever learn. Many people expect God to show up only in dramatic ways. A miracle. A breakthrough. A major answer to prayer. A life-changing opportunity. And yes, God certainly works in those moments. But what if He's also working in places you're overlooking? What if He's present in the ordinary? The conversation you almost ignored. The encouragement you received at exactly the right moment. The unexpected peace that arrived during a stressful situation. The small opportunity that seemed insignificant at first. The simple reminder that you're not alone. Sometimes God's greatest gifts arrive quietly. Not with thunder. Not with fanfare. But with steady faithfulness. And here's the beautiful truth. When you begin looking for God's goodness in ordinary moments, you start finding it everywhere. You notice blessings that used to pass you by. You recognize His hand in situations you once called coincidence. You see evidence of His love in places you never expected. And suddenly life feels different. Not because circumstances changed overnight, but because your perspective changed. You begin each day expecting God's goodness. Expecting His guidance. Expecting His peace. Expecting His presence. And that expectation transforms everything. But there's still one final truth we need to talk about. A truth that can completely change how you walk into today. What if this morning is more important than you realize? What if God didn't wake you up today by accident? Think about that. Out of all the possibilities, out of all the circumstances, out of all the people in the world, you were given another day, another opportunity, another chapter, another chance to grow, another chance to trust, another chance to experience God's goodness. And here's the powerful realization. You don't have to face this day alone. The same God who watched over you while you slept will walk beside you while you're awake. The same God who carried you through yesterday will carry you through today. The same God who has never failed you before will not start failing you now. So stop measuring your future by your fears. Stop measuring your possibilities by your limitations. Stop measuring God's faithfulness by temporary circumstances. Instead, measure today's challenges against the greatness of the God who is walking with you. Because no obstacle is greater than His power. No uncertainty is greater than His wisdom. No weakness is greater than His strength. And no situation is beyond His ability to redeem. That is the confidence we carry into this new day. Not confidence in ourselves. Confidence in Him. As this day begins, choose gratitude. Choose faith. Choose trust. When worries try to appear, remember God's faithfulness. When fear tries to speak, remember God's promises. When uncertainty tries to steal your peace, remember God's presence. You don't need every answer right now. You don't need the entire roadmap. You simply need to take today's step with God. One step. One prayer. One moment of trust at a time. Because His mercy is new this morning. His grace is sufficient for today. And His faithfulness will still be there when tomorrow arrives. So lift your head. Take a deep breath. And walk forward knowing that you are loved, guided, protected, and sustained by a faithful God. If this prayer encouraged your heart today, take a moment and comment. Thank you, Lord, for your mercy. I'd love to know what you're thanking God for this morning. And if this message blessed you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a daily message of encouragement. Because sometimes one prayer, one reminder, and one moment in God's presence can completely change the direction of your day. Until next time, walk in gratitude, walk in faith, and remember, God's mercy has already gone before you today.